I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to a special edition of Triad Today. Over the next half hour, we'll look back at 5 of this year's most informative segments from the good folks at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Topics include heart health, opioid abuse, cancer prevention, staying fit, and preventing childhood injuries. It's all in this special edition of Triad Today. Let's watch. Back now on Triad Today. I always like it when this gentleman stops by. I think it embarrasses him when I call him an expert, but he is a wellness expert. And the reason we have him here is because we want to talk about a topic that scares a lot of people. It's maybe the scariest word in the English language, cancer. Here's a gentleman who's going to help us understand more about this and maybe some preventative measures as well. Dr. Bill Satterwhite is Chief Wellness Officer at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Welcome back to Triad Today.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
What can we do to lower our risk of getting cancer?
Yeah, probably the first thing I would say is that roughly half of all cancers are preventable. Half of all cancers are preventable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So we could practically go out of business if everyone did stuff that kept them from getting sick, which actually is our goal, right? How could everyone be healthy so we go do something else?
Right.
So those are things like limiting tobacco, staying out of the sun, being active. Your diet impacts that. All these are things that impact our risk, our likelihood of getting cancer.
You know, I've talked to people before, and I guess I'm included in this group in certain ways, that are afraid to go to cancer screenings of one kind or another because they don't want to know. They don't want to know what the outcome is going to be.
Correct. That's one of the reasons.
One of the reasons. Why are these, and you can elucidate on that if you want to, but my other question for you is why are these screenings so important?
Yeah, so some screenings are very important because they really are the only way to truly find out if you are in the early stages of cancer before lots of your body parts start to break down. So easy examples are mammography and colonoscopy. And a lot of people don't get them because they're not that fun. You know, they're inconvenient, I don't have time, I'm afraid of what I'll find. Any of those things can be part of why people are hesitant to do it. But yet they're amazingly effective at noticing things before they get too bad.
You know, I was reading one day in the paper about that Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center has one of the top cancer centers in the nation. And so I'm going to ask you sort of a weird question. A, is that accurate?
Yes.
And B, if so, why?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate that we have one of the few certified National Cancer Institute's comprehensive cancer centers here. There are only 40 in the U.S. That comes about because of a lot of things that a place like Wake Forest Baptist Cancer Institute is doing. So that has to do with patient care and outcomes. It has to do with research. It has to do with the way people are treated and how well that goes. So it's a pretty rigorous list to make that team that says this is a group that's really above the norm.
Right.
And people who have cancer who come as patients to a National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center,
right.
That's kind of the name for it, they actually do better than people that go to one that's not.
That makes sense. And what about, you mentioned cancer research. Any one thing, there's so many things, but before we run out of time, any one thing you might want to bring up?
Yeah, many things. I'll tell you one of the most recent is a $9 million grant that we got to really try to study aggressive brain cancers. In general, the medical world has not made much progress against brain tumors. And so we said, you know what, can we spearhead that to see how can we make a dent in that?
And before, again, one thing I want to ask you about, because we opened sort of, you talking about preventative things. Let me go back and say, are there preventative programs that you share with the community?
Yes, actually, yeah. So our dermatology department every May gives free skin screenings to people. Last May we did 300.
Right.
That's particularly important for people like me who have skin without much color and I have real no natural top on.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, well, I'm always operating with the sunroof now.
That's all right, but you're so fit. You know, so people can take advantage of these things, and I hope they will. And up on screen is wakehealth.edu/cancer. And for our radio listening audience, let me say it again: www.wakehealth.edu/cancer, where you can learn much more about this. And Dr. Bill Satterwhite, thank you once again for bringing us some good information. Appreciate it. We'll be right back after this. On a very serious topic, you've heard a lot about the opioid crisis lately, and we have an expert here with us that's doing some great things to abate that crisis. Lori Bates, the director. Let's meet our very special guest. Dr. Jessica Gross is trauma surgeon and assistant professor of trauma surgery at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center and hails from Greensboro, Pennsylvania. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks. Nice meeting you.
Thank you for being here. Opioid deaths, as we all know, and addiction are on the rise, and yet the dilemma seems to be that you still need to treat pain. You still need to treat people's pain. So how do you meet this challenge in this new protocol you're doing? Help me understand it.
Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center is one of the only academic medical centers in the region, and as a level 1 trauma center, we treat about 3,600 trauma patients a year. And so back in 2015, a group of us got together to discuss, how we are currently managing pain on our trauma service and what changes we felt we need to make. And since 2015, the few of the changes we've made is we started to set expectations about the patients and their pain control at admission. We reiterated these expectations during their hospital stay, and then we discussed their pain regimen upon discharge.
Right. Now, is it safe to say that in what you're doing, you're sort of making your protocol such that you don't want to use the opioids unless it's absolutely necessary, or am I misstating that?
No, that is absolutely true. Yes, we fully acknowledge that our trauma patients have injuries and they're going to have acute pain. However, we've also tried to stress that not all pain requires a narcotic pain medication. And so what we've stressed is if you're having mild pain, you can use medications like acetaminophen or ibuprofen. If you're having neuropathic pain that is not actually treated with an opioid, they have their own special set of pain relievers such as gabapentin. And if you're having muscle spasms, then you would use a muscle relaxer instead. So with this multimodality therapy, we're able to better treat and control their pain.
What kind of feedback are you getting? Now, maybe it's too soon to know. I don't know how the studies go with this, but what kind of feedback do you get from patients, from families of patients, to let you know that this protocol seems to be working?
We looked at our Press-Ganey scores prior to and after the implementation of our pain management protocol, and we actually saw an increase in overall patient satisfaction and an increase in their pain control after we implemented the protocol.
By using less opioids?
By using less. We decreased our opioid use by half by implementing this protocol.
Wow. Okay. That's very surprising, very encouraging too. Do you think that, I'll put you on the spot with this, because you're going to have to brag on yourself by answering the question, but we'll go with it anyway. Do you think that what you're doing should be a model for all hospitals?
Yeah, I do think that our pain management protocol can be used at other institutions, and in fact, we presented our data at the American Association for the Surgery of Trauma meeting back in September of 2017, and we're currently working on a manuscript in hopes to get it published so that other institutions can see what we've done.
That's something. I want to put up a website, and then I have one last question I want to ask you, because we have it, Matt. I want to ask you how you got into medicine, why you wanted to do this. But anyway, up on the screen, wakehealth.edu is a website where you can find out all sorts of good things about what's going on. But since we have just a minute or so left, and we haven't met before, I want to know about you. Who or what encouraged you to go into medicine?
I actually grew up riding horses, and so if they would get sick or hurt, I was always the one who took care of them. And so because of that, I was just really interested in taking care of, at that point, others. But I realized, admittingly, I was terrified of dogs, so being a veterinarian was never going to happen. And
Right.
so I, between that and shadowing one of my friend's dad, who was a plastic surgeon,
Right.
between that I realized medicine was a perfect fit
So
for
your
me.
dad was a plastic surgeon?
My friend's dad was.
Your friend's
and so
dad.
I shadowed
Of course, we
him.
have some great plastic surgeons on the show today, too.
I hear that.
They're threatening to do a lot of work on me, which I do need a lot of work, but that's a whole other topic. I'm so glad you came over,
Yeah,
and
thanks for having
doing
me.
what you're doing. It's very important work.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, I don't know of anything more important to talk about this time of year than safety, and safety for children, and injury prevention for kids, and summer safety. Let's just do it all with this very special guest. Next to me, the very lovely Luli Beckless, and she is coordinator of pediatric injury prevention and Safe Kids coordinator for Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Welcome. How you doing?
Thank you. Nice
Good to see you.
seeing you.
A native
Yeah.
of Caracas, Venezuela,
Yes.
and we're so glad. How long have you been in the country? How long have you been at Wake Forest?
Almost 25 years. Winston-Salem has been my home.
Wow,
And
good place.
Yes, yes. And at Wake Forest as an employee since 2015.
That's just
so
great.
in July will be 3 years.
We're so glad you're here. Now, very quickly, before we get started, tell us about the Pediatric Injury Prevention Program. What do you do? What do you offer?
So as a level 1 pediatric trauma center in the region, as the first one in the state and the only one in the region. We treat all the injured children in the 26 county region that we have surrounding, Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, also from Tennessee and Virginia. So we see what happens to kids when they are injured and they end up in our hospital. So part of a level 1 pediatric trauma program is injury prevention. And that is my role, to look at the data, the local data and the data that we have at our hospital, figure out what's injuring kids and come up with programming to reduce those injuries.
And that brings us specifically to this time of year, and I know you're concerned about summer safety for kids. What should parents, grandparents, caregivers know? What should they keep in mind?
Supervision is so important. So kids, are off from school, they're out of their routine. You need to be mindful that kids might be getting into things that typically they wouldn't do when they're at school or when they're doing homework. So what we see is supervision is the key to keeping kids safe. Being an active participant, now we have cell phones and electronic devices. We are constantly connected, with social media and internet, and that has, caused parents and caregivers to pay more attention to other things instead of the children. I mean, that's a reality.
One of the things kids love to do in summer, well, all year round, especially summer, is ride ATVs. Any concerns about that? ATVs is so ingrained in the culture here in the South. When I talk to parents about the importance of keeping their kids safe, what we see a lot is double riding. Children should not be riding in an ATV if it's not made, if they're not the right age. Right.
They shouldn't be riding behind someone else. They shouldn't be on the road. They should have a helmet on. So why would you put your child, why would you allow your child to drive something that they don't have the maturity level to be able to make those higher functioning decisions like you do when you have a vehicle? So why would you give your child an ATV if they don't even have a license to drive a vehicle? It's not different.
I couldn't agree with you more. Any warnings about the difference between swimming in a pool, swimming in a lake, swimming in the ocean?
So what we have found nationwide is that 48% of the drownings happen in open water. So we might think we signed up our kids for swim lessons. They know how to swim in a pool. The water is clear. The depth of the pool, is clearly marked. You have a lifeguard.
Right.
Then children, if you are in a pool being run by the city or the county, but families take their kids to the lake or open water, and we don't know how deep it is. The current, the tides, it's dark. You may have vegetation underneath. So it's very different swimming in open water in compared to swimming in a swimming pool.
All right, we have a few seconds left. Give me 10 seconds on avoiding heat, hydration.
Well, you need to watch the temperature, the air quality, make sure that the kids stay hydrated, sunblock, and most importantly, sending the message to parents that, most parents think it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to our child. So don't wait for that to happen. Just be cautious and keep your kids safe.
And I know you don't want parents texting when they should be watching their kids either. That's one of your pet peeves.
So, if you're going to be going to the pool or open water, please put the phones down and supervise your children.
Lily, thanks for that great information. Up on screen, BrennerChildren's.org is one website, wakehealth.edu is a general website. I can't thank you enough for what you do and your vigilance in this. Thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Dr. David Zhao is Chief of Cardiovascular Medicine at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, and I'm just learning because our good friend Joe McCloskey sent me an email talking about this collaboration between the Heart and Vascular Center, which is kind of like, it's very unique. There's no other one like it, and I want to find out about it, so welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
So now tell me about this combined center. Tell me about the collaboration.
Mm-hmm. I think that these days, taking care of our patients require a lot of different experiences, skills, and knowledges. And what we are doing is really have a patient-centered care and gather all the specialties, and not just me, and there are surgeons, there are echo imaging people, and we all really focus on the patient, provide all the knowledges. And so that will give a patient the best of multiple worlds. And so that's why we're working together.
Well, I think it's a great idea. Now, let's say if I have a history of heart issues, what is it that I'm going to find specifically at this collaborative center, this collaborative effort that's going to help me.
Yes, for example, if you do have a coronary artery disease or heart attack, and there are multiple ways you can treat it. You can give a medicine, you can put a stent in, you can do a bypass surgery. In the past, or even currently, many other institutes, and it's a somewhat a competition. Either you get the bypass or you get the stents, and et cetera. And in Wake Forest, what we do is that we really put everybody together, so provide what's best for patients.
Right.
And that collaboration, we actually can do what we call hybrid procedure. You can actually have bypass surgery to a certain part of the heart, minimal invasive, and I can put a stent in to fix the rest off. So you end up with the best outcomes and provide by
Yeah, instead of if you're either limited or just specialize in stents, and you say, well, Jim, you're going to need a stent, and then there's no other options. I mean, you're sitting here saying, okay, let's find out what's best for his heart.
Exactly, and to combine the technologies together.
I don't want time to get away from this before I mention that that you guys are doing some cutting edge research. Anything new or exciting that you want to share with us, or is it all confidential, or what?
No, nothing confidential. I think really many type of research we're doing, new procedures, new devices. But the most exciting is actually a really what we call precisional medicine or individualized medicine. We now have the abilities and technologies that can predict one's risk for example, coronary artery disease.
Wow.
And then we can actually prescribe preventative measures. So it's individualized rather than just tell you eat healthy, go exercise.
Am I putting words in your mouth, or could that prevent heart attack and stroke later?
Absolutely.
That's great. Guys, there's so much I want to cover, and I don't really have time, but let me just say very quickly, children have heart disease, as we know, but you don't hear a lot about how they transition to adults very quickly. Are you keeping an eye on that?
Absolutely. So we have this wonderful transitional clinic, basically have a pediatric cardiologist and the adult cardiologist see the patient together for a year overlap. So that will make it easy transition for them to see from sort of pediatric service to adult service.
I want everybody to get this heart disease and stroke guide, and you really can't read it if I hold it up. I'm going to hold it up anyway, but on screen is a website, a couple of them. The basic website, of course, wakehealth.edu, but if you go to wakehealth.edu/allheart, you can get this guide, and you can see it online. It has all sorts of great pictures. And it doesn't have any pictures of me, but it has a picture of you, which is more important. But anyway, I really appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Doc.
Take care.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, I have a gentleman here with me who looks at me with great disdain because I'm overweight. No, he doesn't look at me with disdain. But he does help me try to think healthy. And he also wants me to get in shape. And so that's what we're going to talk about, getting in shape. Next to me, of course, our good friend, Dr. William Satterwhite Bill, is Chief Wellness Officer for Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you very much. Glad
You're
to be
always
here.
full of some great information. I want to quiz you now on fitness and getting in shape, okay?
Sure. Yep.
We all know we should exercise, but most of us don't, so the big question is why?
Yeah. I think the number one reason is our culture works against us.
What do you mean?
What I mean by that is this. A long time ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people were more active at work. The job itself had you up and moving around. Life itself had people walking and moving more, and there was more time. Now there is just so little time, and we mostly sit.
For our jobs.
For our jobs. Even people in factories often are sitting down at computers,
That's
operating
right.
equipment.
That's right. I visited a factory the other day. I won't say where it was, but they were sitting down, at what used to be a very active, more blue-collar type thing.
Very much that way. So it's very hard for people to say, when do I put that in? How do I get motivated? What do I do? I'm swimming now against the current.
Right. Now,
instead of with it.
Suppose I start exercising regularly, and I say, well, Bill, I'm doing this because I want to lose weight. And you look at me and say, well, that's okay, but you also believe there are other reasons to exercise.
Right. Here's the stunning thing. Activity, increasing activity, and we call it exercise or activity, but whatever it is, actually decreases your health risk of almost every bad thing you can think of. Whether that's cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, I mean, the list goes on. And that's sort of the bad things that get pushed off. The good things is you'll be happier, you will sleep better, less anxiety, depression.
Less medications. Not taking sleeping pills, stuff like that. What are some ways that Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center supports fitness?
Well, lots of ways. I mean, as an institution as a whole, we have multiple sports medicine clinics. We actually have 3 of them, 2 in Winston, 1 in Greensboro, where we're not only seeing people who have injuries and things, but we also do a lot of research in that area to say, what are the treatments that help people get better more quickly? How can we make that happen? We support organizations just like the Twin Cities Sports Association.
Right.
And also Brenner Fit.
Yeah. What advice, let me shift gears a little bit, but it's not really shifting gears because I want to go to touch on childhood obesity before we run out of time.
Sure.
What advice do you have for tackling the problem of childhood obesity?
Yeah, I'm gonna steal the motto from the Brenner Fit program, the program that's been around for 10 years to help kids that have excess weight they need to lose. They basically say cook, eat, play, repeat. Cook, eat, play, repeat.
Right.
And that for families, if we can try, in spite of the culture, to cook more at home, it's almost impossible to cook less healthy than if you pick up food or eat out.
That's true.
Very
That's
true, right?
And even if you pick up a lean cuisine type thing and put it in a microwave, at least that's better than grabbing fast food. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the more that happens at home. The other thing that happens as a pediatrician, I'll tell you, is those children, when a family actually sits down and eats together, they do better in school.
Wow.
Simply by sitting there and eating.
Wow.
They do better with relationships. They have less school truancy. They have less depression, anxiety, suicide. I mean, you just pick your measure, and it seems to make a difference because they're connecting with family. Now, if you just sit there and watch TV, or if you see food as, our family has to eat. We fed the fish, we fed the dog, we fed the kids, we fed ourselves, check, check,
Right.
check. That's probably not going to do that.
It should almost be a social interaction thing,
Social
shouldn't it?
interaction.
Yeah, that's great. I know what I want to ask you about was events, because you touched
Yes.
on the fact that you support a lot of things that support fitness. Any kind of events that are sort of happen that we should keep in mind?
Yeah, multiple things actually. In addition to lots of different walks and runs in all the counties where we're present, we specifically do things as it relates to big items like Come and Race for the Cure, which is going to come up this month. And we also do American Cancer Relay for Life, which will be this month. And then many other things we sponsor as well, the March of Dimes, March for Babies,
Right.
a Heart and Stroke Walk, a Walk to Stop ALS, strokes,
That's just
Alzheimer's.
great. And up on screen, some websites that can give you more information about some of the things that Bill was talking about, wakehealth.edu/best health. There's also a website up for Brenner's Children's Pediatric Obesity information. Bill, thanks for doing this. Seriously, I know we joke around sometimes, but you just have such helpful information.
Oh,
and,
thanks.
and thanks for all your leadership.
My pleasure.
All right. If you want more information, visit www.wakehealth.edu. For all of us here, Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.